Good morning. This is the Great Basin Fire potential briefing for Monday, August 15th. On the impact map, monsoonal moisture continues in our southern and eastern areas today and tomorrow. The heat and dryness, we'll call it normal summertime heat, which we haven't had much of in a lot of areas this summer because of the cloud cover and above normal monsoonal activity. That midsummer heat and dryness will be most prevalent in these areas in orange, parts of western Nevada, much of Idaho, today, tomorrow, and Wednesday. So drier humidities, a lot more sun, a lot of holdovers starting to pop up from recent lightning, especially in the heavier fuels, the higher terrain of central Idaho. And you'll notice by late Tuesday, some of that monsoonal activity starts to shift westwards and creep northwards into that area where we've been pretty dry recently, but they've been wetter for weeks before that. So we'll have to watch some of these thunderstorms, a mix of wet and dry, not very wet, as they push northwards across western Nevada around the midweek period, but otherwise further to the south and east, a lot of that shower and thunderstorm activity occurring over fuels that are quite moist. Here's our lightning map and precipitation map, and some of this lightning up here in Idaho is a bit of a concern. It's going to be a lot drier there. Much of this other activity occurring in areas that have received lots of moisture. But again, we'll have to watch this northern periphery and western periphery as well. New fire starts in the red. You can see several that we have through here in parts of Idaho and also down south. Recent fires in the yellow. Harder to find where we're having drier than normal conditions, but for the past week, it is across parts of Idaho, the Snake River Plain, maybe the southern Sawtooth, and into parts of the central Idaho mountains where we've been drier than normal, elsewhere wetter, or in some cases much wetter than normal. Far, far western Nevada, kind of near normal or slightly drier than normal. 100-hour fuels, you can see very moist across our eastern and southern areas, but it's across western Nevada and parts of Idaho that are the biggest concern. So you look at the satellite imagery, and there's that monsoonal moisture again pushing through, but you notice the absence of clouds across much of Nevada, much of Idaho, and into parts of western Wyoming as we go through today. We see that on the map, that drier air, that tannish shade will continue drying things out. Our only main concern PSA-wise are the Payette and Salmon Chalice National Forest, especially the northern half of those zones. Elsewhere in the yellow, marginally dry. Could see a bit more new starts with any lightning strikes. Elsewhere, the further south and east you go, definitely more moist. You can see the humidities here, quite dry, single digits to low teens, parts of Nevada, low to mid-teens in Idaho, but much higher humidities further south. Winds getting a little breezy, parts of Utah. Again, a lot of the fuels there, though, quite moist, otherwise light winds. And you'd expect light winds under this high-pressure dome. Notice some of these little green blips starting to develop as that moisture starts moving up into western portions of Nevada. We'll see that in a bit. Winds overall not an issue. Still quite breezy in parts of Utah. But again, humidity's quite high there, upper teens to low 20s. But still, our northern and western areas are in the low teens in most areas. Now, on Wednesday, again, that monsoonal activity continues, goes into parts of Oregon, and fast-moving storms. So the only saving grace is our side of the Sierra here in northwest Nevada has been fairly wetter than the California side. So they have high risk there. We'll continue to monitor. We'll probably see increased new starts, and that's we'll look at the precipitation map right now. It's not much on wind, but you can see a larger area of coverage, and these grayish shades, these are just a couple of hundredths of an inch, so not very heavy precipitation up here. That is the concern. The 3-day precipitation totals through here, you can see. As we go to later in the week, Thursday, some of that moisture starts going into our drier areas of Idaho. We'll have to monitor that. Right now, fuels there are kind of marginal. And that threat continues Friday. Some moisture there, not very deep, though the deepest moisture is staying further to the south near the heart of the monsoon. And that pattern continues basically through Saturday. We see a lot of moisture developing in Utah and still lingering, isolated to scattered in Idaho. And under this high pressure, still warm, but the humidity fairly high or starts increasing because we're in this monsoonal air mass given by the darker shade here. Some drier air starting to push into western portions of the Great Basin on Sunday. Moisture starts moving out of Idaho. We'll see if we get more lightning and more holdovers. 7-day precipitation totals Again, they'll get some up in Idaho, not very heavy, but maybe a tenth to locally a quarter of an inch. That could actually dampen things down briefly before hotter, drier air moves in. And the 8 to 14 day outlook, this is going into the last week of August, and that monsoonal signal still incredibly strong, pushing through most, if not all, of the Great Basin. So that's the way it looks. This concludes our briefing. Have a great day.